Yeah, this is it. After the installation, you can see there is no longer a door for the ashtray. Instead, there's just this empty space where you can put your mobile phone to wireless charge it. And in this video, I'm going to show you which parts I used and how to install it in your car. I discovered this mod on the Audi Zine forum. The idea seems from a few years back when the user Morph started 3D printing his own ashtray replacements. He then later made a second version for larger phones like the iPhone Max or Galaxy Plus, etc., which I highly recommend as it costs only a few euros more. You can buy the part on Shapeways, which has a few extra options for delivery and quality, but I chose the default ones as it doesn't add extra costs, while the quality is good enough already and shipping didn't take too long either. For this video, the following parts are required. First, the 3D printed ashtray replacement, any USB wireless charger which is G compatible, a 12 volt to USB charger, and some kind of rubber mat so the phone doesn't slide around while driving. The wireless charger will be placed below the center of the printed ashtray replacement. I have to put mine flush with the backside because otherwise the cable, which is thicker than the charger itself, wouldn't fit, but it's almost in the center. For the other direction, I just measured everything to be the exact center. Then I used some Taser double-sided adhesive to mount the charger and secure it with some duct tape. I didn't want to use normal glue as I want to keep the option for replacing my third-party charger with a MagSafe one from Apple in the future if I upgrade my iPhone. After mounting the charger, I then cut a cardboard template for the rubber mat and then transfer the template onto the rubber and make sure everything fits perfectly before gluing it in place. After assembling the ashtray replacement, I now prepare the 12-volt USB charger for the installation. There are two supplied cables which have ring terminals, but we won't need them as we are going to connect it to the cables of the cigarette lighter, which is part of the ashtray that we are going to remove. I therefore cut off the ring terminals after the fuse and put on some male crimp connectors on the cables. It is important to use the female versions on the side of the car, which carries the power, so if the connection ever comes loose, nothing will short out. Once we are in the car, the following parts are going to be removed. First, the climate control panel, then the center console button panel with all the MMI buttons, handbrake, etc., and of course the ashtray itself. I highly recommend some panel removal tools like I have, so you don't damage your plastic. If you don't already own one, I will link this kit in the video description. First, we start with the climate control panel. There is a small hole on the underside which we will use to stick a plastic tool in and pull the module to the front. It is only clipped, so it requires a bit of force. This is needed in order to gain access for the next part, which is the center console button panel where all your MMI buttons are. I start with either side of the ashtray. There is a small clip where I start prying with my tool to lift the corner of the whole panel. Then I repeat the same process for the other side as well. After that, you can put your hand where the gear shifter is and grab the panel from below and pull it up. If you have the automatic transmission, I guess you have to pry the panel loose from the outer edge using the plastic tools. For me, it was a little bit easier because I have the manual. Once the button panel is removed, we can unscrew the ashtray, which has two 8mm bolts on either side of the front. After you remove the bolt, just lift it slightly and pull out to the front. You then disconnect the cigarette lighter cable. After you disconnected the cigarette lighter, you can cut the three cables somewhere in the middle. The small one is for the LED, which we don't need anymore. The big orange-red wire is our positive and the big brown is our negative. We will put the same kind of crimp connections onto them, this time the female version, so we can connect our USB charger. After I've done that, I just put some electrical tape over the unused LED wire. Now would be a good time to test if everything works, so connect the charger to the factory plug, connect the USB cable to the wireless charger and put your key into the ignition. If everything turns out fine, we can reassemble the car. As the USB charger has a metal casing, it could rattle against some other parts because it's loose. So I just cut some fabric, wrap the charger in it and secure it with some tape. Then I clean up the wires and find some place to stash them away. This depends on the length of your wires, of course, but there's plenty of place, so it shouldn't be too hard. After the wires are sorted, I use the same bolts as before to secure the wireless charger module in place where the ashtray was. Once the charging module is in place, I put the button panel back in, this time starting with the end I removed first. Just firmly press on every part of it to clip it back in place. The last thing to do is putting the climate module back in. It's also just clipped, so just push it in place. That's all.